Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to this review of the T-34 Tier 5 Russian medium tank. So what do you get with this thing? Well, it's 450 health, which is pretty typical for all of the medium tanks at Tier 5. 500 horsepower gives this a respectable power to weight ratio of 17.4, nothing to get enormously excited about, but, you know, not too shabby. Decent speed limit, 56, decent traverse speed. The armour, well, we'll get onto the armour a little bit later, but it's okay. You can bounce lower tier tanks, but you're not going to bounce anything, you know, not going to bounce a mid to high caliber gun. View range isn't great, signal range isn't the best, but the guns are quite interesting. So, I mean, how does this thing compare with the other Tier 5 medium tanks? Well, it's kind of a jack of all trades. It's very much like the Sherman in a way, but it trades the gun depression and the ability to mount a howitzer for slightly better accuracy and slightly better up close and personal fighting ability, I guess. So let's just have a quick look at the grind first. So how do you get here? So here's the Russian tech tree. Now the T-34 is a bit weird. There are multiple ways to get there, 3 different ways to get there, and it branches off to a whole bunch of different tech lines. So you can get there through the T-26, T-46, T-50. So the T-26 is a pretty respectable light tank. It's not a scout tank though, and don't think it is. It's a combat tank with a half decent gun. T-46 maintains that. It's not particularly quick, but again, it has a half decent gun, and the power to weight ratio is not terrible. The T-50 is a scout tank. It gets scout matchmaking. That's probably going to be the maker or breaker for you, to be honest. I mean, it's quick-ish, mobile-ish, it's alright. It did get a bit of a nerf though, it's not as good as it used to be, and then you get into the T-34. Second way of going, BT-2, fast, no armour. Gun's actually pretty good. BT-7, fast, no armour. Gun is okay, not as good at Tier 3 as the gun on the BT-2 was at Tier 2. A-20, now caveat, at the moment the A-20 gets scout matchmaking. As of the next patch, I believe that's disappearing. So, I mean, scout matchmaking frankly used to kill this tank. Just wasn't capable of doing it very well. But if it doesn't get scout matchmaking, it might become a much more viable option. Option 3, T-60, respectable armour, gun selection's okay, you know, not amazingly fast, and you can see its specific power is about 12. T-70, armour at Tier 3 is troll as all hell. I've got a couple of videos up of this on my channel, one where I get my Ace Tanker badge, and one where I rack up 10 kills on Himmelsdorf, most of it outnumbered by lots to 1. This is, when it's top tier, an amazing machine. But, because it's not the fastest machine in the world, it doesn't do as well in Tier 5 games as some other tanks. T-80, Tier 4 light tank, does not get scout matchmaking. This is more of a light combat tank. The armour isn't really worth as much as the T-70s at Tier 3, and the gun's okay, but it's a bit of a marginal improvement rather than something radical over the T-70. Whether you like this or not is up to you. So they're the 3 ways to get to the T-34. And from the T-34, you can either go down one of the medium lines, or you can go skip over to the tank destroyer lines. So it really is a linchpin of about half of the Russian tech tree. It's a very pivotal machine in that sense. So when you get to it, what do you get? Well, you have this engine, which may or may not be already unlocked depending on which way you got to this. So, if you came via the A-20, then you'll already have this engine unlocked. If you didn't, then you won't unless you've already gone down some of the other tech lines. Radio, very similar deal. If you went down the T-70, T-80 line, you'll already have this radio unlocked. If not, you won't unless you've been down some of the other tech lines. Guns, well, this is the stock gun. There's this 76mm gun, which you won't already have unlocked. So you'll have to unlock that. There's this 57mm gun, which is also used on other tanks, so the T-28, the MT-25, etc., but no tanks that lead up to the T-34, so you probably won't have this unlocked when you get the tank. And you have this 76mm gun, which you almost certainly won't have unlocked when you get this tank. So basically when you get this, the stock tank is going to look something like that 76mm gun, stock turret, one of these two, depending on which line you have gone down to get to this thing. Which modules do you want to prioritise? Well, the tracks aren't too bad, they give you slightly better traverse speed. The stock gun is bad. Let's not mince words, it's terrible. The next gun along, frankly, is still not very good. It's basically the gun that you get on the Matilda 4. The moneymaker guns are either this one or this one. So I would prioritise getting the engine if you don't already. The stock engine still has 480 horsepower actually. No, I'm going to change that. Don't get the engine to start with, it's only a marginal improvement. Concentrate on the guns, unlock this 57mm gun as quickly as you can, and mount it. It's not too heavy, so you should be able to mount it on the stock suspension, I believe. Once you have this gun, then get the tracks, engine, and radio. You can save the radio if you want, but I think you probably want it because the signal range on the stock radio is truly abysmal. Then get the top turret, then unlock this gun. Now, there is a genuine choice on this tank when it comes to guns. Well, no, actually, hang on. Let me bring up all of the guns. And I can show you just how bad some of them are. So, there is the stock gun. This is the second 76mm gun. This is the gun that I suggest you unlock as quickly as possible, and this is another option for Top Gun on this tank. Stock guns, 12.24 rate of fire. Compare this with the upgraded gun, same tier weapon I should point out. The rate of fire goes up, the penetration goes up, the average damage stays the same, the accuracy gets better, the aim time gets better. This thing has a 2.9 second aim time. I mean, this is just a terrible, terrible, terrible gun. Even if you fire premium ammunition out of it, it's still an absolutely awful gun. You're probably just going to have to spam high explosive and hope for the best. This is a terrible weapon. So you're going to stop using this as soon as you can. The second 76mm gun. Well, let's be brutally honest, it's not very good, is it? It's really not. 86 pen, 102 with APCR. Not very accurate. Good rate of fire, so you can bounce on people an awful lot. And this is why you want to get the 57mm gun as soon as you can. So, let's just ignore this one. These are the two guns you're really choosing between. So get the 57mm one first because it doesn't require the top turret to unlock. What do you get with that? 27 closest damn it rounds per minute. This is like a machine gun, it fires very quickly, like the British 6-pounders. 112 penetration, which whilst not stunning, is usable. 189 with premium ammunition and garbage with high explosive. The high explosive ammunition for this gun isn't worth using, by the way. Because HE you get 95 damage and the other two you get 85, so basically this is a pew-pew gun. Doesn't do much damage per shot, but you keep firing. 0.34 accuracy. Now, one thing a lot of people say when they play the T-34 is it's not very accurate. Wrong. It is accurate. The reason you don't think it's very accurate is because the gun loads faster than it aims. It has a 2.3 second aim time. And what that means is that if you want to fire the gun as fast as it loads, you will not be fully aimed and your shots will, some of them at least, miss, unless you're at point blank range. If you're at longer ranges, just wait that little bit longer for your gun to fully aim, and then take your shot. But this is a very competitive gun on this tank. The other option is the S-54 76mm gun, so your rate of fire goes down, your penetration goes up, your average damage goes up, but you have higher alpha damage, yes, but this does not compensate for your rate of fire drop, so this gun has lower DPM. It also has lower penetration with premium ammunition. The high explosive shell performance is better, but it also gets lower damage with premium ammunition than it with its regular armour piercing. It's less accurate and has a 2.9 second aim time. Now, this might be a bit of a matter of opinion, and this gun does come back, both of these guns come back on later tanks, but in my opinion, this 76mm gun is just not very reliable. You get lower DPM, terrible aim time, it's inaccurate, it doesn't actually have that high alpha damage. I don't like it. Some people use it, and that's fine, and try it. See what you think. Do you think it's worthwhile? But personally, I think this is the best gun for the tank. Do unlock the 76mm though, because it will be useful, potentially useful, on a later machine. So that's the guns. Let me quickly talk about some... No, before I talk about crew skills, I'm just going to make a very quick comparison. A lot of people will compare this tank, inevitably, with the Type T-34, the Chinese Tier 5 medium tank, which is basically a copy of the T-34. And that's a fair comparison to make. What's the difference between the two? Well, the Chinese machine has a better grind because it has fewer modules to unlock, but that also means it gets fewer options. So the Chinese gun, the Chinese tank, the top gun, is this 57mm gun. It doesn't get the S54 76mm. So, you know, you're slightly more limited in your choices, but it does mean you have less to unlock. It's an easy grind. Second thing, the Chinese tank manoeuvres better. It's a more dedicated close-range fighter, so it traverses slightly faster, although the traverse speed on this is not to be sniffed at. 40 seconds for the tracks, 49 for the turret. Very good traverse speed. Where the T-34 is better is that it actually gets some gun depression. The Type T-34, sorry, has garbage gun depression. It's Chinese, they all have terrible gun depression. So now, having said that, let's quickly think about crew skills and equipment. So, what equipment would I give this? Well, again, I used a pauper setup on it because, spoiler alert, I'm not actually going to keep it, and I'll get to that later. What would I suggest people use? I would say rammer, gun rammer, because the more DPM, the better. You also... Can this thing fit... gun laying drive to get that aim time down, because then, you know, if you decide to fire as soon as you're reloaded, you're going to be more accurate. And then it's your choice, either gritty suspension, nah, wouldn't bother. Camo net, nah. You could go with vents. Vents is never a terrible choice. Spore liner, not worth it. Ammo rack, wet ammo rack. I haven't noticed any massive ammo rack problems with this tank, so I wouldn't bother. Binos, yeah, you could choose binocular telescopes to get a bit more view range out of this. Coated optics, you could choose coated optics to get a bit more view range out of this. Having said that, because the view range on this tank isn't stellar to begin with, I'm not sure I'd go with optics, but you could. Cyclone filter for engine durability, haven't noticed any particular problems. Toolbox, yeah, you could go with that. So I think the options for the third equipment slot are really either binocular telescopes, coated optics, or improved ventilation. Of those three, I think I would go with improved vents, but, you know, it's up to you. What about crew skills? Sixth sense on the commander. You might want to consider preventative maintenance on the driver, safe stowage on the loader, repairs on anyone else, basically, and that should see you fine. So now that I've rambled on about it, let's have a quick look at the armour, shall we? I'll talk about that in a bit more detail. Here we are in Tank Inspector, and let's just have a quick look at the armour scheme. There you go. The armour's pretty uniform all over, to be honest. So, on the hull, you've got 45mm at the front, side, and 40 at the rear. So basically the same all over. And on the turret, you have 52mm on the front, 52mm on the side, and 45mm on the back. So the armour is pretty uniform. Let's just have a sorry, a quick look at a couple of aspects. There is one strip of 60mm of armour running right along here. And it's possible that if a lower caliber shell hits this, it may well bounce. You can see the equivalent thickness tends to be, you know, fairly high depending on where you hold the cursor over. You can see that the machine gun port just here is not a weak spot per se, as in it's the same thickness as everything else, but it's quite flat. So people will probably penetrate that with ease. And I mean, if you include the slope on the front of the tank, still only puts it up to about 62mm of effective armour, I mean, which is not going to bounce a great deal of much. So don't expect miracles of this armour. So you really want to angle this thing pretty much like that. You know, about 45 degrees. Yeah, something like that. To get the most out of this armour. And if you do that, you can bounce lower tier tanks. So tier 3 and 4 tanks can be bounced on this armour. But don't, maybe flatten it out a little bit more, but don't expect miracles. Higher tier tanks are just going to go through you all day long. As for your gun mantlet, well, here you go. In places it goes up to sort of 130mm thick, but right underneath here, this bulge, there's no turret underneath there, it's just gun mantlet. So yeah, you might get some bounces, but don't expect it. And of course, in case someone's really having difficulty penetrating you or something, you have the commander's hatch, which is 45mm, and the size of the Empire State Building, it is massive. And it means that someone will probably be able to shoot you here before you put your gun over the top to shoot at them. These 2 points on the front, strictly speaking, so these 2 vision slits, they are technically weak points, but I don't think anyone's really going to care too much about that. And ditto, these viewfinders, if that's what they are, strictly speaking, they're weak, but I'm not sure if they're actually hitboxes or if they're just going to cause critical damage. And who even cares? I mean, just shoot at this thing and you'll probably penetrate it unless you've got a very low caliber gun. I mean, the tracks, if you include the tracks, you can start getting a bit more effective armour on the side, and shots into the side can bounce or be eaten by the tracks, which is quite nice. The other quite nice thing about it is that its upper profile is not too big, i.e. artillery shells have a smaller area to hit and, you know, a very weak armour to hit, so 16mm, than they do for some tanks. And so there's a fairly good chance an artillery shell will just come in and hit you on the side. Now, it may well still penetrate you because the armour on this thing is not particularly thick, but it's okay. But it's a smaller, very very thin target to hit. This engine deck is not massive. So I've prattled on long enough. I think it's time we went and got into some games. Game number 1, and we are top tier in an assault game on the attacking team on Sand River. So this is going to be an example of this tank when it's top tier, and of kind of fairly aggressive, I guess, medium tank gameplay. Now you'll notice I'm using the 57mm gun, and in terms of ammo loadout, I have no high explosive because the HE ammo on this thing is garbage. I don't have any APCR either. I didn't use any on this tank, but you know, you could carry some because it doesn't exactly have hyper penetration. So initially I'm just considering what I'm going to do, so I start off backing off. But eventually I decide to kind of be a little bit aggressive. This Type T-34, so that's the Chinese version of this tank, is out ahead of me. But he's going up toward these this ridge line, which isn't actually the best place for him because he has terrible gun depression. I would do better up there, and he might do better where I'm about to go, but, you know, whatever. So on this map, if you're assaulting, if you can get a tank into sort of this area, around G2, G3, H3, J3, J4, that kind of area, you can get some spots done. If you have some guns to back you up, you can get spotting damage, and you can just pick apart this flank of their team. Like that. See, that Panzer IV is no longer looking very healthy. And you can also get damage in yourself, which is quite nice. Oh, M7. I'm trying to keep moving because I don't want to take any damage through my side, and I'm relying on the fact that I have a tank or two giving me overwatch fire to convince him to back off. There's a Chinu. Ooh, he tries to shoot at me, but I'm not going to bother having a firefight with him because I want to keep moving. And you can see that this tank isn't slow, but it's not the fastest tank in the world. It has a high top speed, but most of the time you're not going to reach that. A lot of the time you're probably going to be poodling around at sort of 30-something kilometres an hour, or maybe up to 40-something. If you've let the engine go for a while, normally you're only going to hit that high 50, whatever it is, speed limit when you're going downhill. So there's my first kill. I take out that Chi-Nu. Huzzah. And I'm just seeing if I can respot this Panzer IV. Now I've got, M7, a Chi-Nu from us, and I bounce on an M7 somehow. Shoot him in the face, and he rams himself into me and dies. So I kill him, and then I kill the Panzer IV, who comes around to just get on our nerves. And our team is currently winning 5-0, so this isn't going too badly. And you can see the rate of fire on this gun is very, very good. It's not as good as the 6-pounders you get on some of the British, American tanks. But it is very, very good nonetheless. And it does make up for the slightly lower rate of fire by having better accuracy and better damage per shot. So the DPM on this tank is pretty respectable. Now I want to flank around behind that KV-1, but I'm a little bit paranoid in case there's anybody that will be able to shoot me in the sides or rear if I try and do so. I don't really want to die for my efforts. 3 minutes into the game now. And I just decide, screw it. This T1 Heavy needs some help, or could do with some help. It is a KV-1 after all. So I decided to give the KV-1 something else to worry about. Oh, come on. There we go, that's penetration. KV-1 is bringing his gun to bear on me, so I just get out of the way before he can actually shoot me. And that leaves the T1 free, if he wants to shoot him in the side of the turret. There we go, that looks like a 76mm shell from the T1 Heavy. Oh, bounce. And kill stolen. Well, no, not quite stolen, I did put some damage on him. So I'm on 4 kills, we're winning 9-2. 10-2. This was a bit of a rout. But you can see a nice little bit of aggressive medium tank play at the beginning, and you can help your team a lot to win. Now, of course, if nobody at all had any guns supporting me in that position, that could have gone very differently, and that might have been a little bit sticky. So doing something like that does require your team to not suck completely. Now, at the moment, I'm trying to hunt out their artillery. I assume he's going to be back here somewhere. There he is. There's the AMX. First shot misses, but we managed to get kill number 5. Can we get a Top Gun? Come on, come on! So they've got a Marder 38T just went down, Type T-34 and a T-49 remaining. That T-49 looks like he is about to get ganked, and ganked hard. T-49 is down, so just this Type T-34 left. He's on 28 health. Can I get him before anyone kills him? He manages to take out our Hetzer. No, he dies. And that's the game. So that's the sort of thing you can do. No Top Gun for me. That's the sort of thing you can do in this tank when it's top tier. What about when it's bottom tier? Here is game number 2, and you can see this is a very different game indeed. We are bottom tier, so this is a tier 7 game. And I'm platooned up with a couple of clanmates. Red Bull is in his Stug 3, and Hayashida is in his Chi-Nu, Japanese tier 5 medium tank. And we're going to see what we can do. We're here on Cliff. Standard battle, there's no other sort of battle on Cliff. And we're very much small fish here. And this is the sort of game where you think, maybe I should have brought some premium ammunition to the party. Oh well, I didn't. We'll just have to deal with it. And people already colliding with each other and making themselves lose health, and generally being a bit derpy. So we're going up to this, I'm going up to this central region to start off with. As is most of our team. Now, Red Bull was inquiring, he hasn't played many games of World of Tanks, so he was inquiring, where on this map to take a tank destroyer. The honest answer is, I don't think this map is particularly good for TDs. There are a couple of spots you can try and use. You can try and stay at the base and overlook the 1 line or something, or you can try and sit up in sort of A5 where we already have a TD going. There's the enemy team lit up. Oh, there's some scary stuff over there. I don't want to fight a T-29. That seems like a terrible idea. Oh well. Ooh, Hellcat, however. There we go. We'll put a cheeky shot into you, and I'm not going to hang around. I don't have Sixth Sense on this crew, so I just fire and back off. This was also, incidentally, the last game I ever played in this tank. It was with this game that I unlocked the A43, which meant I'd unlocked everything that I wanted from it. There's a Chinu, and you can see that our gun depression isn't great, but we do at least have some to work with. Hayashida's just down there. No shots on that VK. Couple of mediums over there. And it's just, when you're bottom tier, a case of trying to find an opening, an opportunity to make yourself useful. Oh, Hayashida's taken a hit. And if you're in a tier 5 tank in a tier 7 game, there we go. 90mm guns abound, and it's very easy to suddenly run out of health. So Hayashida's down. We're still trying to find an opening. We're winning 3-2, so this isn't too bad. Haven't got a shot on that. Oh, I have got a shot on that Chinu. Tell a lie. But you can see, even to a tier 5 tank, we just sort of chip away a bit of his health. We're winning 4-3. Although we just had an ally kill an ally, which is always so much fun. 4-4. And I really want to go around this rock formation and take those heavies from behind, but I appreciate that if I do, 1, there's a good chance someone is going to have their back and be watching it, and I'll get shot, and 2, well, there's a good chance they'll turn around and just blap me. Can I get a shot in on that Hellcat? No. Boo. I don't like it. I want to. Oh, maybe I can get a shot here. I'm being a bit cheeky, There we go. Another 79 damage into him. Oh, that was going smart. Chinu's coming for me. Or not. Chinu's just got massive tunnel vision going on. Chinu is dead. So we're winning 7-5. And I have a kill. Huzzah! And that Hellcat is also dead. Huzzah! But I am really worried about these heavies pushing down the 8-9 lines. And I want to go around and flank them. And this ELC's gone before me, and he hasn't died yet, so that indicates to me that there isn't actually anyone back there covering. Oh, he just took a hit. But he was taken out by that ELC. Oh, okay. There is an ELC covering them. 7-7. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. 7-8. These, oh. I was about to say these guys really need help, but I'm afraid these guys really needed, past tense, help. There are now no guys to need help, unfortunately. But it's very difficult to make opportunities, and oh Christ, there's a BDR. He's only tier 5, but I really don't want to eat a 90mm shell from him. That would be bad. So I'm just running, trying to keep buildings between me and him, and ooh, ELC AMX. There's one shot into him. 2. Ram him to death. Panzer. Lower plate. 1 shot into him. Ouch. 2 shots. Sets him on fire. 3 shots. 4th shot into the lower plate. Sets him on fire again. And killed him. 9-9. I'm on 192 health. And I'm on 3 kills in a tier 7 game, which isn't too shabby. 9-10. Oh, but this is not looking great. We only have 1 tier 7 left, and every tank they have remaining, other than 1, is a tier 7. So this is not looking fantastic. Okay, Tiger up there. I can hurt a Tiger-ish. Oh, he has an IS friend. That's not great. So I'm spotting these guys, and Red Bull is in the background. And so hopefully, if I keep spotting these guys, Red Bull will be able to get shots on them. However, there is of course no guarantee that the shots he gets off won't reveal his position. which is a problem. Oh, 10-11. We've still got our Panzer Soufflé, our Mega Dick remaining. I'm just hiding behind this rock. Oh god, there's an IS. I take a shot at him. Oh, he misses me. Oh god, there's the T-29. And Red Bull, to his credit, is laying in to this IS. I'm trying to angle the armour I can. If his shot goes into my tracks, I survive, which will be amusing. Oh. Try and put a shot into the T-29. Red Bull puts another one into that IS. I bounce on the IS again and again. There's a shot into him. Ah, and the IS takes me out. Damn it. Red Bull gets another shot into that IS. And another one. Don't know if that one actually penetrated or even hit, but a good shot all the same. And we're just down to Red Bull and this PZSFL 5. And the Panzer Soufflé is not in cover. Oh, and Red Bull's down. T-29 got bored of him. This is not looking good. It really isn't. Oh, T-29. No, don't do it. No. Apparently Red Bull has got horrific lag. Fair enough. In which case, you know, he actually does respectably. He put damage into a tier 7 heavy tank and a tier 5 tank destroyer despite having lag. And this guy's just going to get surrounded and absolutely fucked. And he's dead. And we lose. But, tier 7 game, tier 5 medium tank, 3 kills, one of which was tier 7. Okay, I got a little bit lucky setting his engine on fire, but to a certain extent you make your own luck. I was aiming for his lower plate, putting shots into his lower plate. Panther, engines in the front, or is it transmission in the front? I can't remember. Either way, something that catches fire is in the front. And from that game I actually get over 1,000 damage and get top XP on my team, despite the fact that we lost. Tier 5 medium tank, I couldn't quite carry them hard enough. So, there we go. Even though bottom tier, very, very respectable tank. Let's just have a quick nip back to the garage to have some concluding remarks. So what do I think about this tank overall? It's not bad. But that's kind of the problem. It's not bad. In fact, it's quite good. I mean, a lot of tier 5 machines are quite good, but I think this tank really struggles to distinguish itself and to make its mark felt, to make its impression on the game. It's a pretty decent tier 5. It tends to get a bit overshadowed by the Panzer IV and the M4 Sherman, due in no small part to the fact that they can pack 105mm howitzers and people seem to like running around derping lower tiers to death, but this is not a bad machine. And if you have any interest in the Russian tech line, there's a very good chance you're going to have to play this anyway, because it's in such a central location on the tech tree. And playing this is not a painful experience, it's definitely not. But am I keeping it? No. I said that earlier on, and you can see I've already moved the crew out, and they're not in the Matilda, they're actually currently sitting in the KV-13. Because it doesn't really distinguish itself very much, and the majority of games I had in this tank were really mediocre. I didn't really have any game or any games that just grabbed me and went, I love this tank and I want to keep it. So I'm not going to. It's going to be sold after this review. I'll get the like 200,000 credits for it and move on. But it's not a bad machine, and you may decide that you want to keep it. Whether this is more your playstyle or the Chinese one, and they are very similar, but which is more your playstyle is up to you, and well, frankly it depends upon what tech line you're grinding down. But this is certainly not a bad machine. And you may well want to keep it. I've just chosen not to. So I hope you guys found that vaguely informative / entertaining. If you did, please feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel. And I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.